Hello everyone. Welcome back to the English Academy. If this is your first time here, you're in the right place. Today, I want you to make one promise. Don't skip this video. Because the next few minutes may change the way you think about money forever. This is not a fantasy. This is not a story about becoming rich overnight. This is a real-life inspired journey. A journey of an ordinary man who was tired of living from one paycheck to another. He didn't win the lottery. He didn't have rich parents. He didn't start with a successful business. He simply changed his habits. For 21 days. And those 21 days completely changed the direction of his life. As you watch this story, ask yourself one question. What if I start today? Now. Let's begin. Ethan Parker was 25 years old. He lived in a small rented apartment. Every morning, his alarm rang at 6:30. He got ready for work. He rushed to catch the bus. He worked 8 long hours. Then came home. Completely exhausted. His salary was enough to survive. But never enough to move forward. Every month, the same cycle repeated. Salary arrived. Bills were paid. Rent disappeared. Electricity. Internet. Food. Fuel. Small online shopping. Weekend outings. Coffee. Food delivery. Subscriptions he didn't even remember buying. And before he knew it, his bank account was almost empty. Sometimes, he checked his balance 3 or 4 times a day. Not because he had money, but because he hoped. Somehow, the number would magically increase. Of course, it never did. One Friday evening, his best friend, Ryan, called him. "Bro, we're going out tonight." Ethan looked at his phone. Then he opened his banking app. His balance showed only $38. He stayed silent. Ryan laughed. "Don't tell me you're broke again." Ethan smiled. But inside, it hurt. Because it was true. Again. That night, instead of going out, he sat alone in his apartment. He turned off the lights. Only the small table lamp was on. He looked around his room. A gaming headset. Old shoes. 3 unused bags. A smartwatch he hadn't worn in months. Books he never opened. Kitchen gadgets still inside their boxes. He suddenly realized something. He wasn't poor because he earned too little. He was poor because he never noticed where his money disappeared. That thought stayed in his mind. The next morning, he visited his parents. His father noticed something was wrong. "You look tired." Ethan forced a smile. "I'm okay." His father didn't believe him. After lunch, his father walked into the storage room. A few minutes later, he came back with an old notebook. The notebook looked very old. Its cover was faded. The pages had turned yellow. His father placed it on the table. "I found this while cleaning. It belonged to your grandfather." Ethan looked surprised. "My grandfather?" His father nodded. "He wasn't born rich. He struggled more than anyone. But before he passed away, he wrote down every lesson that changed his life." Ethan slowly opened the notebook. Most pages were filled with simple handwriting. No complicated words. No expensive investment secrets. No magic formulas. Then, one sentence caught his attention. It was written in large letters. "If you can control your money for 21 days, your money will stop controlling you." Ethan read the sentence again. And again. Something about those words felt different. There was another line below it. For the next 21 days. Spend only on what you truly need. Write down every single expense. Earn something extra. Learn something new every day. And never lie to yourself about money. Ethan closed the notebook. He looked at his father. Did Grandpa really do this? His father smiled. Yes. And it completely changed his life. That evening, Ethan returned home. He placed the notebook on his desk. He took a blank notebook. And on the first page, he wrote only 4 words. The 21-day challenge. Then, he looked at the calendar. Tomorrow, day 1 would begin. But Ethan had no idea that these next 21 days would completely change not only his bank account, but also his entire future. The next morning, the alarm rang at exactly 6:30 a.m. For the first time in months, Ethan did not press the snooze button. He sat up quietly. His eyes moved toward the old notebook lying on the table. The 21-day challenge. Those 4 words suddenly felt real. He walked to the kitchen. Normally, he would order breakfast from a food delivery app. It was easy, fast, comfortable. But today, he opened the refrigerator. 2 eggs. Some bread. Milk. That was enough. He cooked his own breakfast. It wasn't perfect. But it cost almost nothing. As he ate, he wrote his first expense. Breakfast. $1.40. It looked strange. Just $1.40. But for the first time, he actually knew where his money had gone. He smiled. 1 expense. Written down. Then he left for work. On the bus, he noticed something. Almost everyone was holding a coffee cup, including him. Every morning, he spent nearly $5 on coffee. $5. It didn't sound like much. But suddenly, he became curious. He opened the calculator on his phone. $5. 5 days a week. $25. 1 month. More than $100. 1 year. Over $1,200. He stared at the screen. $1,200. Just coffee. He couldn't believe it. He wasn't thinking about quitting coffee forever. He simply asked himself, is it worth it every single day? That morning, he skipped buying coffee. Instead, he filled his bottle with water from the office. He wrote another line. Coffee skipped. Money saved. $5. At lunch, his co-workers ordered burgers, pizza, cold drinks, desserts. Come on, Ethan. Join us. He almost said yes. It was a habit. Not hunger. A habit. Then he remembered another sentence from his grandfather's notebook. Never confuse wants with needs. He quietly opened his lunchbox. Simple rice. Chicken. Vegetables. One coworker laughed. Trying to become rich? Everyone smiled. Ethan smiled too. Maybe they were joking. Maybe they weren't. But he didn't care. Because deep inside, he knew something they didn't. Every small decision mattered. That evening, he came home tired. Normally, he would lie on the bed, scroll through social media for hours, and order dinner online. Instead, he opened the notebook. Today's savings. Breakfast. Coffee. Lunch. Delivery avoided. Total saved today. $21. He stared at the number. $21. In just one day. Not by earning more. By wasting less. It felt like a victory. The next page of the notebook had another challenge. Look around your room. Everything you don't use. Is sleeping money. Sleeping money. Ethan looked around. His room suddenly looked different. The old gaming headset. Unused shoes. Extra backpack. A camera tripod. Old headphones. Unused smartwatch. None of these things had been touched in months. He spent the next 2 hours cleaning everything. He placed each item on the floor. Then he opened an online marketplace. One by one. He uploaded the pictures. He honestly described every item. No lies. No fake promises. Then he waited. The next morning. His phone vibrated. Someone wanted to buy the headset. Another person asked about the backpack. By afternoon. The headset was sold. That evening. The backpack was gone too. He held the cash in his hands. $130. He smiled. Yesterday. These were just dusty objects. Today. They had become money. His grandfather was right. Sleeping money. That night. He visited his parents again. His father noticed something different. You look happier. Ethan laughed. I sold things I wasn't even using. His father smiled proudly. Most people work harder to earn more. But smart people first stop wasting what they already have. Those words stayed in Ethan's mind all night. Before sleeping. He opened the notebook again. Day 1. Completed. Day 2. Completed. Money saved. Money earned. Expenses written down. For the first time in years. He didn't feel trapped. His bank account wasn't full. His salary hadn't increased. His life hadn't magically changed. But something much more important had changed. His thinking. And sometimes. A changed mindset. Is the first payment toward a completely different future. Ethan turned off the light. Outside. The city was still awake. People were spending. Shopping. Ordering. Buying things they didn't really need. Inside his small apartment. A young man had just learned one simple truth. Money doesn't disappear overnight. It disappears. One small decision at a time. And tomorrow. Day 3. Would teach him an even bigger lesson. The sun had barely risen. But Ethan was already awake. Today was day 3. For the first time in years. He felt excited before going to work. Not because he loved his job. But because he finally had a purpose. He opened his notebook. Every expense. Every dollar saved. Every extra dollar earned. Everything was written clearly. His grandfather had left another message. If you don't tell your money where to go, it will quietly disappear. Ethan closed the notebook. I won't let that happen again. At work. Everything looked normal. People were talking. Phones were ringing. Computers were running. But Ethan noticed something he had never noticed before. Almost everyone complained about money. I need a raise. I'm broke again. I don't know where my salary went. The strange thing was. Some of them earned much more than Ethan. Yet. They had exactly the same problem. During lunch. He sat beside an older employee named Mr. Daniel. Daniel had worked there for almost 25 years. He never wore expensive clothes. He never talked about luxury. But everyone respected him. Ethan finally asked. Can I ask you something? Daniel smiled. Of course. How do you always stay so calm about money? Daniel laughed softly. Because money has never been my master. Ethan looked confused. Daniel continued. When I was your age, I thought earning more money would solve everything. It didn't. Then I thought investing would solve everything. It didn't. So what changed? Daniel looked directly into Ethan's eyes. I learned that wealth is built by habits. Not by salary. Those words hit Ethan hard. Daniel took out an old wallet. Inside, there wasn't much cash. Just a few notes. But there was a small folded piece of paper. He opened it. It was a monthly budget. Every expense. Every saving. Every investment. Written by hand. For 20 years. Daniel said. I've told every dollar where it should go. That's why money doesn't control me anymore. That evening, Ethan went straight home. He opened his laptop. For the first time, he downloaded his last 3 months of bank statements. At first, he thought it would take only a few minutes. Instead, he spent almost 3 hours reading every transaction. Coffee. Snacks. Online shopping. Food delivery. Streaming subscriptions. Taxi rides. Late night orders. Small payments. Again. Again. And again. None of them looked dangerous alone. $5. $8. $12. $15. Tiny expenses. But together, they shocked him. In just 3 months, he had spent more than $600. On things he could barely remember buying. He leaned back in his chair. I worked weeks. For things I don't even remember. He wasn't angry. He was disappointed. Not in anyone else. In himself. Instead of feeling guilty, he made a new rule. Every purchase must answer one question. Will this make my future better? If the answer was no, he would wait 24 hours before buying it. No exceptions. Later that night, his phone buzzed. A notification appeared. Flash sale. 70% off. Today only. Normally, he would open it immediately. Today, he smiled, closed the notification, and locked his phone. 5 minutes later, the desire disappeared. He realized something incredible. Most buying decisions lasted only a few minutes. If he could control those few minutes, he could save hundreds of dollars every month. The next morning, another surprise arrived. A man bought Ethan's old smartwatch. $85. Then someone purchased his unused camera tripod. $40. His room looked emptier. But his savings account looked healthier. For the first time, he transferred every extra dollar into a separate savings account. Not for spending. Not for emergencies. Just to prove one thing. I can keep money. That simple action made him feel stronger. On his way home, he walked past an electronics store. A giant screen displayed the latest smartphone. People crowded around it. It has better cameras. It has faster performance. It looks amazing. For a moment, Ethan wanted it. His phone was 2 years old. Then he asked himself, does my current phone still work? Yes. Then why am I replacing it? He smiled. And kept walking. That single decision saved him almost $1,000. That night, he opened his notebook. Day 3. Completed. Money wasn't changing him. Discipline was. He finally understood something his grandfather had known many years ago. Rich people don't become wealthy because they never spend. They become wealthy because they know exactly when to spend and when to walk away. Ethan looked at the calendar. 3 days were already finished. 18 days remained. He had no idea that day 4 would introduce him to one habit that would eventually earn him far more than his monthly salary. Day 4. Ethan woke up before sunrise. He no longer needed 3 alarms. He no longer felt lazy every morning. Something inside him had changed. Not because he had more money, but because he finally had direction. He made his breakfast, packed his lunch, checked his notebook. Then he noticed another message written by his grandfather. You can only save so much. One day, you must learn how to earn more. Ethan read the sentence twice. Until now, he had focused only on spending less. But this message was different. Saving money was important. However, there was a limit. You could only cut so many expenses. The real question was, how could he increase his income? At work, his routine continued as usual. Emails, meetings, phone calls, reports. Nothing had changed. But during lunch, he heard 2 coworkers talking. I earned $200 this weekend. The other man looked surprised. Doing what? I edited videos for a small business. You know video editing? I learned online. That conversation stayed in Ethan's mind. For years, he believed extra income was only for talented people. But maybe skills could be learned. That evening, instead of watching random videos online, he searched one simple question. What skills can I learn for free? Hundreds of results appeared. Video editing, graphic design, writing, English communication, sales, digital marketing, Excel, programming, AI tools, public speaking, freelancing. He felt overwhelmed. There were so many options. Then he remembered another lesson. Don't chase everything. Master one thing. After thinking carefully, he chose video editing. Why? Because businesses, content creators, teachers, everyone needed videos. And he genuinely enjoyed watching them. For the next hour, he watched beginner tutorials. He didn't understand everything. Sometimes he paused. Sometimes he replayed the same lesson 3 or 4 times. It was frustrating. His first practice video looked terrible. The text appeared at the wrong time. The music was too loud. The cuts were awkward. He almost deleted everything. Then he remembered. Nobody is good on day 1. He smiled, saved the project, and promised himself, I'll get 1% better every day. Before sleeping, he looked at his phone. His screen time report appeared. Last month, average daily screen time, 6 hours and 43 minutes. He stared at the number. Almost 7 hours. Every single day. He quickly did the math. Nearly 200 hours. Every month. More than 2,000 hours. Every year. His heart sank. Imagine learning a valuable skill. For 2,000 hours. How different would life become? Without hesitation, he deleted 3 apps that consumed most of his time. Not because they were evil. Because they were stealing his future. The next day, his friend Ryan called again. Bro. Big sale today. Let's buy new sneakers. Ethan smiled. My shoes are still good. Ryan laughed. You've changed. Maybe. But I like this version of myself. Ryan stayed silent. Then he asked. Seriously. Why are you doing all this? Ethan took a deep breath. Because I'm tired of working hard. And still feeling broke. Ryan didn't reply. For the first time. He had no joke. That evening. Ethan practiced editing again. This time. The video looked slightly better. Not perfect. But better. One small improvement. That was enough. He wasn't chasing perfection. He was chasing progress. Before going to bed. He opened his notebook. He wrote today's lesson. Skills create income. Habits protect income. Then he added another sentence beneath it. If I improve every day, the future version of me will thank me. He closed the notebook with a smile. Outside, the city lights were shining. Thousands of people were relaxing after work. Some were spending money. Some were wasting time. Some were complaining about life. Inside a tiny apartment, one young man had started investing. Not in stocks. Not in gold. Not in crypto. But in something far more valuable. Himself. And years later, he would realize that was the best investment he ever made. Tomorrow, day 5, would test something much harder than saving money. It would test his discipline. Day 5. The challenge was no longer exciting. It was becoming difficult. The first few days felt fresh. Everything seemed new. Every habit felt powerful. But now, reality had arrived. The alarm rang at 6 a.m. Ethan opened his eyes. For a moment, he wanted to sleep again. His body felt tired. His mind whispered. One more hour. No one will know. But then, another voice answered. You will know. He slowly got out of bed. That single decision won the first battle of the day. On his way to work, heavy rain started falling. People rushed toward coffee shops. Warm drinks. Fresh sandwiches. Comfort. Ethan entered one shop. Not to buy coffee, but to avoid getting wet. The smell of fresh coffee filled the room. People were laughing. Talking. Enjoying expensive breakfasts. For a few seconds, he wanted to order something. Then he remembered his notebook. He wasn't avoiding coffee because coffee was bad. He was avoiding unnecessary spending. He filled his water bottle. Waited until the rain became lighter. And walked away. He smiled. Discipline isn't about saying never. It's about saying not today. At the office, something unexpected happened. His manager called everyone into a meeting. The company is reducing overtime this month. The room became silent. Several employees looked worried. One whispered, I needed that extra money. Another said, now my budget is ruined. Ethan felt nervous too. A month ago, this news would have terrified him. But today, he wasn't completely dependent on overtime anymore. He had already reduced many unnecessary expenses. He had started saving. He had sold unused items. He had started learning a new skill. For the first time, bad news didn't destroy his confidence. Preparation had created peace. That evening, he visited a nearby supermarket. He carried a shopping basket. Normally, He would walk through every aisle. Snacks. Cold drinks. Chocolate. Frozen food. Offers. Discounts. He would buy things simply because they looked good. Today, he carried something different. A shopping list. Only 8 items. Rice. Eggs. Milk. Vegetables. Chicken. Bread. Oats. Fruit. Nothing else. As he walked through the store, bright signs shouted everywhere. Buy one get one free. Limited time offer. Special discount. He smiled. A discount on something you don't need is still wasted money. He ignored every offer. Paid only for the items on his list. And left. His bill was almost 40% lower than usual. Back home, he cooked dinner. While eating, he watched another video editing lesson. Today's topic was simple. Adding subtitles. It looked easy. But after 1 hour, his subtitles were completely out of sync. He laughed. This is harder than it looks. Normally, he would have quit. Instead, he practiced again. And again. Until midnight. Finally, the subtitles matched the voice. It wasn't perfect. But it worked. Progress. Not perfection. Before sleeping, his phone buzzed. It was Ryan. Bro. Movie tonight? Everyone's coming. Ethan looked at the message. He wanted to go. He missed his friends. But he also knew. This month, his priorities were different. He replied. Not today. Let's meet next weekend. Ryan sent a laughing emoji. Who are you becoming? Ethan looked at the message. Then smiled. I'm becoming someone my future self will thank. Late that night, he opened the old notebook again. Another sentence was waiting. Every successful person learns to delay pleasure. Ethan thought deeply. Children want everything now. Adults understand. Some rewards are worth waiting for. Saving money wasn't punishment. Learning wasn't punishment. Saying no wasn't punishment. They were investments. Investments in a better tomorrow. He opened his savings account. 5 days earlier, the balance had almost been zero. Now, thanks to small daily decisions, extra earnings, and controlled spending, the amount had quietly grown. It wasn't enough to change his life yet. But it was enough to change his confidence. He no longer felt helpless. He finally believed. I can build something. Not quickly. Not magically. One day at a time. Before turning off the light, he wrote today's lesson. Discipline is choosing what you want most, instead of what you want now. He closed the notebook. Outside, rain was still falling. Inside, a stronger version of Ethan was slowly being built. He didn't know it yet. But tomorrow, day 6, would teach him a lesson that almost every wealthy person understands. The true value of time. Day 6. Ethan opened his eyes before the alarm rang. He looked at the clock. 5:42 a.m. He smiled. Just 6 days ago, waking up early felt impossible. Now, it was becoming natural. He walked to the kitchen, made himself a simple breakfast, then opened his grandfather's notebook. Today's message was short. Very short. But powerful. Time is more valuable than money. Because money lost can be earned again. Time lost never returns. Ethan closed the notebook. He whispered. I've already wasted enough. On the way to work, he noticed something strange. Almost everyone around him was busy. Some were watching funny videos. Some were endlessly scrolling social media. Others were arguing in comment sections with strangers. Nobody looked happy. Everyone looked busy, but not productive. For the first time, Ethan asked himself, where does my time actually go? After work, instead of going home immediately, he sat in a quiet park. He opened the Notes app on his phone. Then he wrote down everything he had done yesterday. Wake up. Get ready. Travel. Work. Lunch. Travel back. Phone. TV. Random videos. Scrolling. Sleep. When he finished, he stared at the list. Nearly 4 hours had disappeared without creating anything useful. Not learning. Not earning. Not improving. Just consuming. He shook his head. I always said I didn't have time. The truth is, I never noticed where my time was going. That evening, he made a new rule. Every day, at least 2 hours, would belong to his future. No excuses. Those 2 hours could be used for learning, reading, practicing, planning, or building something. But never wasting. He called it the future block. From 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. his phone stayed on silent. No social media. No television. No distractions. Only growth. The first evening was difficult. After 20 minutes, he wanted to check his phone. After 30 minutes, he reached for it. Then he stopped. He smiled. My phone can wait. He continued practicing video editing. His hands became faster. His cuts became smoother. His subtitles looked cleaner. It still wasn't professional. But compared to day 4, the difference was huge. Small improvements, repeated every day, were beginning to create real results. The next morning, something unexpected happened. His manager stopped by his desk. Ethan, can you help me organize this presentation? Normally, Ethan would have panicked. But because he had been practicing software every evening, he finished the task quickly. His manager looked impressed. I didn't know you had these skills. Ethan smiled. I've been learning. His manager nodded. Keep it up. That single compliment stayed with Ethan all day. He realized, learning never goes to waste. Even when nobody is watching. During lunch, Ryan called again. Bro. You disappeared. Ethan laughed. I'm just busy. Busy doing what? Building a better future. Ryan stayed quiet. Then he asked. Does it really make that much difference? Ethan thought for a moment. Then answered honestly. No. Not in one day. Not even in 1 week. But if I keep doing this for years, it will change everything. That night, Ethan opened his savings account again. He smiled. The number was still small. But something else had become much bigger. His confidence. His discipline. His belief. For years, he thought success depended on luck. Now he understood. Success was usually the result of hundreds of small decisions, made every single day. Before sleeping, he wrote today's lesson. Protect your time. And your future will protect you. He placed the notebook beside his bed. Turned off the light. and smiled. Tomorrow would be day 7. 1 full week. Only 7 days had passed. But Ethan already felt like a different person. Not because he had become rich, but because he had finally become responsible. And responsibility was the first step toward real wealth. Day 7. Exactly 1 week. 7 days. 168 hours. That was all it took for Ethan to realize that changing your life doesn't begin with earning more. It begins with thinking differently. He looked into the mirror. Nothing about his face had changed. He was still the same person. The same apartment. The same job. The same salary. But inside, everything was different. Have you noticed something? Most people wait for life to change first. Then they promise to change themselves. But successful people change themselves first. And then life begins to change. Remember this. It may become the most valuable lesson of your life. That morning, Ethan checked his bank account. For the first time in years, his balance was growing instead of shrinking. It wasn't thousands of dollars. But it didn't matter. Growth is growth. No matter how small. He smiled. This is just the beginning. After work, he received an email. Someone had seen one of his practice videos online. The message was simple. Hi Ethan. I own a small bakery. Can you edit a short video for my business? Ethan's heart started beating faster. A real client. He had never worked for anyone before. His hands were shaking. He wanted to reply immediately. But fear stopped him. What if I fail? What if they don't like my work? What if I make mistakes? Then he remembered something his grandfather had written. Fear has stolen more dreams than failure ever could. He took a deep breath and replied, Yes. I'd love to help. The bakery owner sent him a short video. It wasn't difficult. But Ethan wanted everything to look perfect. He spent almost 4 hours editing it. Adding music. Cleaning the audio. Writing subtitles. Adjusting colors. Watching it again. And again. And again. Finally, he pressed send. Now, there was nothing left to do except wait. That night, he couldn't sleep. His phone was beside him. Every few minutes, he checked for a reply. Nothing. 1 hour. Nothing. 2 hours. Still nothing. His mind started creating problems. They probably hated it. I knew I wasn't good enough. Maybe I should stop. But then, his phone vibrated. The bakery owner had replied. This looks amazing. How much do I owe you? Ethan froze. Nobody had ever paid him for a skill. He didn't know what to charge. He thought for a moment. Then replied. $30. A minute later, the payment arrived. $30. It wasn't a huge amount. But Ethan stared at the screen. As if someone had sent him $1 million. Because this wasn't just money. It was proof. Proof that learning a skill could create income. Pause for a second. Imagine this. If one new skill can earn you $30 today, what could happen? After 1 year of practice? After 3 years? After 5 years? Never underestimate the power of starting small. The next morning, Ethan wrote something new in his notebook. Income source number 2. He smiled. His salary was still there. But now, he had another way to earn. For the first time, he understood why wealthy people always talked about multiple sources of income. Not because they were greedy. Because they wanted freedom. That evening, Ryan came to visit. He looked around the apartment. "You sold half your stuff." Ethan laughed. "Pretty much." Ryan noticed the notebook. The savings chart. The calendar. The daily goals. He became quiet. Then he asked, "Do you really believe these 21 days can change someone's life?" Ethan looked at him. Then slowly smiled. "No. 21 days won't make you rich. But they can make you the kind of person who will become rich one day." Ryan didn't say another word. Because deep inside, he knew Ethan was right. Before going to sleep, Ethan looked out of the window. The city was glowing. Millions of people were hoping for a better future. Very few were preparing for it. He closed the curtains, opened his notebook, and wrote today's lesson. Money follows value. The more value you create, the more opportunities will find you. He closed the notebook. Tomorrow, day 8, would bring Ethan the biggest temptation since the challenge had begun. Day 8. Life has a strange way of testing you right after you start making progress. That morning, Ethan received a message from Ryan. "Bro. Biggest shopping festival of the year. Everything is up to 80% off. You have to come." Ethan smiled. Just 1 week ago, he would have been the first person to reach the mall. But today, something inside him had changed. Still, he decided to go. Not to shop, but to test himself. The mall was packed. People carried huge shopping bags. Children were excited. Music played loudly. Every store had giant signs. Limited time. Last chance. Buy now. Everywhere Ethan looked, people were spending money. Some were buying things they needed. Many were buying things simply because they were on sale. Ryan walked into a shoe store. "Look at these. 50% off. They're amazing." Ethan looked at the shoes. They were beautiful. His size was available. The price was tempting. For a moment, he almost picked up the box. Then, he quietly asked himself, "Would I buy these if they were not on sale?" The answer came immediately. No. He slowly placed the box back. Ryan looked confused. "Aren't you buying them?" Ethan smiled. "I just saved $100. Ryan laughed. "You didn't save anything. You didn't buy anything." Ethan shook his head. "Exactly. Think about this for a second. Companies spend millions of dollars learning how to make people buy emotionally. Successful people learn how to buy logically. That one difference can completely change your financial future." As they walked through another store, Ryan bought a smartwatch, a new jacket, wireless earbuds, and expensive sunglasses. At the billing counter, his card was declined. Ryan's smile disappeared. He tried another card. It worked. But Ethan noticed something. Ryan wasn't happy anymore. He looked worried. Outside the store, Ryan finally admitted, "I'll probably pay this off over the next few months." Ethan didn't judge him. Because Only a week earlier, he would have done exactly the same thing. That evening, Ethan returned home. His apartment was quiet. He opened his notebook. Then he wrote one simple sentence. Just because I can buy it doesn't mean I should. He looked at those words for a long time. They sounded simple, but they had the power to change an entire life. A few minutes later, his phone rang. It was the bakery owner again. Hi Ethan. The first video worked really well. We've had more customers this week. I have 3 more videos. Can you edit them too? Ethan couldn't stop smiling. Of course. This time, the owner asked, how much do you charge? Ethan thought carefully. Last week, he would have accepted any amount. But today, he knew his work had value. He replied confidently. $100. There was a short silence. Then the owner answered. That's fair. I'll send the files tonight. Ethan sat quietly after ending the call. 1 week ago, he was worried about saving money. Today, someone was willing to pay him for his skills. Here's something important. Saving money can change your situation, but increasing your value can change your future. Never stop learning, because skills can earn money even while you sleep. Late that night, Ethan finished editing the first video. It looked much better than his earlier work. He smiled. Practice was paying off. Not just financially, but personally. Every day, he was becoming more confident, more disciplined, more focused. Before sleeping, he opened the old notebook again. Another sentence caught his attention. The richest people don't chase money. They become the kind of people money naturally follows. Ethan closed the notebook. Looked at the calendar. 8 days were complete. Only 13 remained. He wasn't counting the days anymore. He was counting the lessons. Because deep inside, he had finally understood. The greatest investment was never money. It was becoming a better version of yourself. Tomorrow, day 9, would bring Ethan the most unexpected opportunity of his entire life. Day 9. Sometimes, life rewards you at the exact moment you stop chasing shortcuts. Ethan had no idea that today would become one of the most important days of his entire life. It was Saturday morning. No office. No meetings. No deadlines. After breakfast, Ethan sat down with his laptop. He finished editing the bakery videos. A few hours later, the owner sent the payment. $100. Ethan looked at the notification and smiled. Not because of the money, but because someone trusted his work. That feeling was priceless. While checking his email, he noticed another message. Subject: recommendation. He opened it. The bakery owner had written, "Hi Ethan. I showed your work to one of my friends. He owns a small gym. He is looking for someone to edit videos every week. Can I share your contact number?" Ethan couldn't believe what he was reading. Without spending a single dollar on advertising, a new client was coming through a recommendation. He quickly replied, "Yes. Thank you so much. Never forget this. Good work is the best advertisement. People may forget your words. People may forget your promises. But they never forget How you made them feel. When you deliver real value, opportunities begin finding you. An hour later, his phone rang. Hello. Is this Ethan? Yes. My name is Kevin. I own FitZone Gym. I heard you're a video editor. Ethan took a deep breath. Yes. We upload short videos every week. Can you help us? Absolutely. Kevin continued. I'll send you one video first. If I like it, we'll work together every month. Ethan's heart raced. This wasn't just one project. This could become regular income. For the next 5 hours, he worked harder than ever before. Every cut, every transition, every subtitle, every second mattered. Finally, he clicked. Send. Now, all he could do was wait. That evening, Ryan dropped by. He looked surprised. You're working on a Saturday? Ethan laughed. I used to waste my Saturdays. Now, they pay me. Ryan smiled. You really have changed. Ethan nodded. I didn't change overnight. I changed. One decision at a time. Ryan sat quietly. Then he asked. Can you teach me what you've been doing? Ethan looked at him. A week ago, Ryan had laughed at him. Today, Ryan wanted to learn. That's how success works. First, people ignore you. Then, they laugh at you. Then, they ask you how you did it. Late that night, Kevin finally replied. Ethan, this is exactly what I wanted. I'd like you to edit 4 videos every month. I'll pay you $400. Ethan read the message again. $400. Every month. His eyes filled with tears. Just 9 days ago, he believed his salary was his only source of income. Now, he had built something with nothing more than discipline, learning, and consistency. Take a moment and think about this. Ethan didn't win the lottery. He didn't inherit money. He didn't become famous. He simply decided to become more valuable. And the world started paying for that value. That's how real success begins. Before going to bed, he opened his notebook. Today's lesson. Opportunities don't come to the most talented people. They come to the people who keep showing up. He looked at the calendar. 9 days. Already completed. Only 12 days remained. But something incredible had happened. The challenge was no longer about money. It had become a challenge to build a completely new version of himself. And tomorrow, day 10, would test Ethan. In a way, no amount of money ever could. Day 10. There is one enemy that destroys more dreams than failure ever will. It isn't bad luck. It isn't a lack of money. It isn't a lack of talent. It's comfort. The moment life becomes a little better, most people stop growing. Ethan didn't know it yet. But today, comfort would knock on his door. Saturday evening. His phone buzzed. Salary credited. For the first time in months. His account looked healthy. Salary. Savings. Freelance income. Everything was finally moving in the right direction. He leaned back on his chair. A smile appeared on his face. I deserve a reward. That one sentence almost destroyed everything. He opened his favorite shopping app. Thousands of products appeared. A new laptop. Wireless headphones. A premium watch. Branded clothes. Luxury sneakers. His finger stopped. On a gaming console. He had wanted it for years. This is my chance. Without thinking, he added it to the cart. His heart was beating fast. He was only one click away. Then, his eyes fell on the old notebook, lying quietly on the table. He walked over, opened a random page, and read just one sentence. Don't let temporary success create permanent mistakes. Ethan slowly looked back at his phone. Then, he closed the shopping app. Not because he couldn't afford it. Because he had finally learned the difference between being able to buy something and needing to buy something. Listen carefully. This lesson can save you years of regret. The first sign that your financial life is changing isn't a bigger salary. It's when you stop trying to impress people who aren't paying your bills. The next morning, Ethan visited his parents. His mother noticed something different. You look happier these days. He smiled. I finally feel like I'm moving forward. His father quietly placed a cup of tea in front of him. Then asked, So, how's the challenge going? Ethan laughed. It started as a money challenge. But now, it feels like a life challenge. His father smiled. That's exactly what your grandfather discovered. He once told me, money changes only after people change. Those words stayed with Ethan. Before leaving, his father handed him an old envelope. Inside was a photograph. It showed Ethan's grandfather standing beside a tiny roadside shop. His clothes were simple. His smile was genuine. Behind the photo, one sentence was written. I wasn't born successful. I simply refused to quit improving. Ethan held the photograph tightly. He realized something. His grandfather's wealth didn't begin with money. It began with discipline. That evening, the gym owner called again. Ethan, the videos are performing really well. I'd like to increase the work. Can you handle 8 videos every month? Ethan took a deep breath. Yes. And I'll increase your payment to $800. For a few seconds, Ethan couldn't speak. $800. Almost half of his monthly salary. From a skill he had started learning only 10 days ago. Pause for a moment. Imagine where Ethan would be if he had said, I'm too busy. I'm too tired. I'll start next month. Small excuses create big failures. Small actions create extraordinary lives. That night, Ethan opened his notebook. He wrote, Never let success make you lazy. Let it make you even more disciplined. Then he looked at the calendar. 10 days. Almost halfway. The challenge had already changed his habits. His confidence. His income. His future. But the biggest test was still waiting. Because tomorrow, someone from Ethan's past would suddenly return and offer him a shortcut to become rich. The kind of shortcut that destroys thousands of lives every single year. Day 11. By now, the challenge was no longer about saving money. It was about becoming A completely different person. And that's exactly when life decided to test Ethan again. Monday morning. Ethan reached the office early. As he sat down, his manager walked toward him. "Ethan. Can we talk?" For a second, his heart skipped a beat. Had he done something wrong? The manager smiled. "I've noticed something different about you. You're more focused. You finish your work faster. You never complain. And your attitude has completely changed." Ethan smiled politely. "Thank you." Then the manager asked, "What changed?" Ethan looked outside the window. Then quietly replied, "I stopped waiting for life to change. I started changing myself." The manager nodded slowly. "I wish more people understood that. Here's something interesting. People don't notice. When you buy expensive things. Not for long. But they always notice. When your discipline changes. Because discipline is impossible to fake." That evening, Ethan received another message from the gym owner. "The videos are doing great. Our page has doubled in engagement. We're recommending you to 2 more businesses." Ethan couldn't believe it. 1 client had become 2. 2 were becoming 4. Without spending a single dollar on advertising. His work was advertising itself. 3 days later, another payment arrived. Then another. Then another. For the first time, his freelance income was almost equal to his office salary. He smiled. Not because he wanted to quit his job. Because he had finally built options. And options create freedom. Think about this. Poor people usually depend on one source of income. Wealthy people build multiple streams. Not overnight. One at a time. Day 13. Ryan came to visit again. This time, he wasn't laughing. He wasn't making jokes. He quietly asked, "Ethan, can you teach me everything you've learned?" Ethan smiled. He opened his notebook. This is where it all started. Ryan looked confused. "That's it? No expensive course? No secret investment? No shortcut?" Ethan laughed. "The truth is, most people already know what they should do. They simply don't do it." Ryan slowly nodded. Maybe, for the first time, he understood. Day 14. Ethan checked his savings account. He compared it with the day he started. The difference shocked him. Not because the amount was huge. Because it proved something. Small actions, repeated every day, always beat big plans that are never started. Don't skip this lesson. Because it can change your future. You don't become wealthy the day you earn a lot. You become wealthy the day your habits change. Income can disappear. Good habits keep creating income. For years. Day 15. Exactly 15 days had passed. Only 6 remained. Ethan decided to visit his grandfather's old house. Most of the furniture was gone. The walls looked old. Dust covered almost everything. But inside one drawer, he found a small envelope. Inside, there was just one folded paper. Written by hand. If you're reading this, it means you chose discipline. I'm proud of you. Ethan's eyes filled with tears. Below it, his grandfather had written one final lesson. Money is a wonderful servant, but a terrible master. If you learn to control it, you'll never truly be poor again. Ethan folded the paper carefully, placed it inside his notebook, and smiled. The challenge was almost over. But the biggest reward had nothing to do with money. Tomorrow, the final 6 days, would change Ethan forever. And by the end of day 21, he would finally understand why his grandfather called this the challenge that changes lives. Day 16. Ethan stood quietly, holding his grandfather's handwritten note. For a few moments, he didn't say a single word. He simply smiled. Because he finally understood. This challenge was never about becoming rich. It was about becoming responsible. The next 5 days passed faster than he expected. Every morning, he woke up early. Every expense was still written down. Every evening, he practiced his skill. Every dollar had a purpose. The habits that once felt difficult had now become automatic. That was the real victory. Day 17. The gym owner called again. Ethan, I have good news. We're opening another branch. I want you to manage all our social media videos. I'll increase your monthly payment again. Ethan smiled. Not long ago, he was praying for one extra opportunity. Now, opportunities were looking for him. Remember this. Success doesn't suddenly appear. It quietly grows. While nobody is watching, people only notice when it becomes impossible to ignore. Day 18. Ryan arrived at Ethan's apartment. This time, he carried a notebook. Not a shopping bag. Not expensive shoes. Not new gadgets. A notebook. I've started my own challenge. I've written every expense. I've deleted useless apps. I've stopped wasting money. And yesterday, I completed my first freelance project. Ethan smiled proudly. Without realizing it, his actions had inspired someone else. That's how real change spreads. Not through speeches. Through example. Day 19. Ethan checked his finances. For the first time, he had enough savings to cover 6 months of expenses. 6 months. He looked at the screen, almost unable to believe it. Just 3 weeks earlier, he couldn't survive 1 week without worrying about money. Now, he finally had something called peace of mind. Here's the truth. Money doesn't buy happiness, but it does remove many unnecessary worries. And those worries disappear only when you learn to manage money wisely. Day 20. Ethan visited his parents. His mother smiled. You look different. His father smiled too. I told you. That notebook would change your life. Ethan laughed. No. The notebook didn't. My decisions did. His father nodded proudly. Exactly. A book can teach. But only action can transform. That evening, Ethan opened the very first page of his notebook. He read the words. The 21-day challenge. Then, he turned every page slowly. Each expense. Each lesson. Each mistake. Each victory. Every page represented a better version of himself. Finally, day 21 arrived. Exactly 21 days since Ethan had written those 4 words. He sat quietly. In the same chair. Inside the same apartment. But he was no longer the same man. He compared his life. 21 days ago. He wasted money. Now. He invested it. 21 days ago. He wasted time. Now. He protected it. 21 days ago. He depended on one salary. Now. He had multiple income sources. 21 days ago. He complained. Now. He planned. 21 days ago. He searched for excuses. Now. He looked for solutions. The biggest change wasn't in his bank account. It was in his mindset. He opened his grandfather's notebook. One final time. The last page contained only one sentence. If these 21 days changed your life, spend the rest of your life living these 21 days. Again. And again. Ethan smiled. Closed the notebook. Looked outside his window. The city hadn't changed. The world hadn't changed. Only one person had changed. And that changed everything. Now. Before this story ends, I want to ask you one question. If an ordinary man, with an ordinary salary, could change his life, one habit at a time, why can't you? Your journey doesn't begin next month. It doesn't begin next Monday. It begins today. With one decision. One page. One habit. One step. Because one small step, repeated every day, can completely transform your future. Thank you so much for watching. If this story inspired you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who needs this message today. And if you want more powerful English stories that improve both your English and your life, make sure to subscribe to the English Academy. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and remember, your future is created by what you do today. The end.